With PUBG introducing PGS and PGC points this year, and PGS2 being right around the corner, I think it's a good idea to look at what PGS points are, how they work, and what they mean for the teams and the regions, and also who can qualify to PGC based on their PGS points. So the qualification process for PGS2 has already concluded, and every region is sending their qualified teams besides the partner teams. You might remember Savin making it out of the PGS2 qualifiers, for example. The format was a little bit different in some other regions, but it's already done, so we're not going to waste a whole lot of time talking about it. But what's interesting is what was announced at the start of the year. The top 4 across both PGSs will go to Worlds. They essentially recreated the PGC point system that we have across multiple regional events, and made the PGS point system that we have across multiple international events. You see the points on your screen right now. First place for 17 Gaming meant 200 points for them, for example. Second place for Ascend meant 120 points. And now PGS2 is coming up with a whole lot more PGS points still. So once PGS is done, we'll have a point leaderboard, just like we have with PGC points, and the top 4 teams will qualify to Worlds. One big piece of information that's missing here is the tiebreakers. PUBG has not announced what happens if a team has the same amount of PGC points. There's a lot of different combinations for teams to end up on the same amount of points. I asked PUBG about it, and I've been told most viewers don't care. So wait till PGS happen. Now, before I explain who needs how many PGS points to qualify, I want to quickly go over why these qualifications matter so much to more than just PGS. Let's have another look at the current EMEA PGC points. And you can, for example, see that Twisted Minds is basically already qualified to PGC through that. Now, Twisted Minds is also not doing so poorly on PGS points. If they do well at PGS2 and they grab one of these 4 slots, the EMEA leaderboard basically just expands by 1 slot because Twisted Minds doesn't count anymore. So PGS points go first, and that means if your teams do really, really well at PGS, then your region gets more slots for PGC. That's why it matters so much. That's why so many teams care about how their region does, and that's what makes it a little bit extra spicy, apart from the absolutely insane prize pool that we have for PGS2. Now, I took some inspiration from a Reddit user called MyMy009, who did essentially this for PGC last year, so ahead of PCS7. And what he did is he looked at some of the teams that had similar amounts of PGC points already, and looked at, depending on what placement they get in PCS7, which is the numbers you see at the top there, what chances do they have to make it to PGC? And it was super interesting, right? Because there was a few teams on that list. They only needed a finals, like Big BBL, for example, was basically guaranteed if they made finals. Even Team Liquid had a massive jump in odds if they made finals. And other teams, for example, could guarantee it with a top 5, but a top 7 was not enough. So I decided to do the same thing here, but not for PGC, but for PGS. And the way I did this is I wrote my own Python program, my own Python script, to run through all the teams and give them random placements, right? Pretend that every team is random, because trying to teach a program how good a PUBG team is absolutely impossible. I mean, so I wrote a program that assigns random placements to these teams and then checks who qualified. And the way this ends up being pretty accurate is by running something like 5 million simulations. And that's what I did. So what you're looking at is the chance for each team to qualify to PGC based on their placement in PGS2. And you can very quickly see that whoever places first and whoever places second will go to PGC. You can also very quickly see that 17 Gaming, no matter how they do, is going to PGC. Fun fact, if they don't make finals, so 17th to 24th, the chance isn't actually 100%, it's 99.96%. It rounds up to 100, because the chance of them not making it while there is a scenario, is super tiny. What this also shows is a third place is pretty good, but when you get third, you're happy about every single PGS point you've been able to acquire. For example, Sonics are in a really good spot. FaZe Clan, they would have to hope if they get third. Getting fourth is not great unless you're one of the teams that already has points. And that very neatly ties us over to the second graph I made. Now, in that second graph, I changed the tiebreaker. I said instead of placement at PGS2 being the tiebreaker, which it has been for past PGC events, where if you had the same amount of PGC points, the team that performed better in the last event got the spot. That's a very reasonable to assume tiebreaker because that's something PUBG has done in the past. And I said, instead of that, what if the higher placement across both PGSs counts? Because that would mean that Ascend, who's got second place in the first PGS, wins the tiebreaker against a team that gets fourth at PGS2 and gets the same amount of PGS points. We don't know if that's going to happen. It's the only way we qualify, so I did the maths for that scenario. And you can see two things. Ascend now suddenly has a 5% chance, or 4.8% chance, of still qualifying. And all the 0-point teams have no chance anymore. Because, well, if we win the tiebreaker against them, fourth place is not enough. That was all to take in. Two things. Keep in mind that this is a simulation. This assumes that every team has the same chance of finishing on all of the slots in PGS2. That's obviously not accurate. But there's no way you write a program that accurately predicts how teams are going to do. I think it's better to accept that and just say, well, let me know what happens if a team gets fourth. I think that's much more interesting than saying, what are the chances of FaZe Clan getting third? Because no program can do that for you. I don't think FaZe Clan knows that. I don't think any of the teams at the tournament know that. It doesn't happen. Second, there is a weakness in this because I cannot calculate all the outcomes. If you want to have some fun, try and figure out how many options there are for 24 teams finishing on 24 different slots. It is a ton of outcomes. It is nothing that my PC can handle, and not with my programming skills at least. So there is a little bit of variance here or there. There is some scenarios that might not be 1,000,000 percentage points accurate, but the overall picture is very much true. And I think that's what matters. And I think that gives you a good idea of what your team needs to qualify. And it will give you a good idea of what you can expect in terms of teams that don't have a chance, like probably us, Ascend, or Tianba, who have even less points than us. They are in no way gonna make it. And it also tells you a good bunch of information about teams like 17, who are essentially guaranteed, even though there's a tiny edge case where they wouldn't make it. You can go screenshot the tables I made. I'm probably gonna upload the code somewhere, maybe on my Patreon, just as a little bonus for people that are that crazy about it. If you want to work with this software, you want to build something on top of it or improve it, let me know. I'm sure we can find a way. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys understand what PGS points are now and have a little bit of an idea what to expect from PGS2. Of course, there is another way to qualify to PGC, which is the PGC points. And after PGS2 is done, I'll probably make another video explaining who needs how many points to qualify through that. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. If you enjoy the PUBG content, make sure you're subscribed. Helps out a lot. And I'll see you guys very soon.